So let's create like the script that will call our function. Okay. For that, I will just call it like plain, whatever, plain process. You know, C sharp script. So plain process. Okay, and I'll just open my file, and I need to have like two public texture 2D. Okay, I will call the first one main texture, and public for the sprite 2D sprite texture, and then I just save it and apply it to my plane. So just select my plane, and plane yes, okay, and I'm gonna add my two textures. This one is the main texture that has like you need to make it advanced. By default it's like texture. You need to change it to advanced your texture, and then check this one, read and write enable, and in here you just choose the this one, yeah, override for standalone, this one, and check this one, and you choose the right resolution like 512, and you choose because it's just a JPEG file, so it needs to be like uncompressed RGB 24-bit. Okay. Otherwise, if it was like a PNG file with an alpha channel, you need to choose this one. But because you are using just a JPEG files, so we'll be using this one, and just press apply. Okay. And you check like the standalone, okay, or the default one, whatever. All of them work. The default one, the same, 512, and RGB 24-bit. Okay. If you are using a JPEG file, okay. And the second texture will be like this one, for example. Yes, it's the same. By default, you will find it like texture in texture mode. You need to change it to advanced, and you need to check this one. And the default one, you need to choose like the right width and height. And also choose, because it's a JPEG file as well, so you need to choose like the RGB 24-bit, okay, and press apply. Very important. If you don't check this one, you won't be able to change it. You'll get like an error message when we try to change stuff in it or to try to read it or something like that. So you need to check this one. Okay. And then I'll just choose my plane, select my plane, and apply to it like the sprite texture, this one, sprite texture, and the main texture will be like our gradient, which is in here. Okay, let's go back to our script. So I'm gonna create an instance of my class compute bitmap. So just do private the name of the class compute, the type compute bitmap is equal sorry, I'll use the same name but with lowercase c, compute bitmap. Okay. And it's equal to new compute bitmap, and the constructor, the default constructor that doesn't have any parameter in it, and the semicolon. Anyhow, okay, so now we are just going to call our function. So since our function will return a texture2D, so I'll just do this, and I will be applying the result, the mixing result, on the texture of my plane, which is the same, like I'm using for my plane, the same texture as this one, the gradient, okay? So if I select my plane, you'll see like I'm using the gradient texture as well. Okay. So the result will appear on my plane. Okay. So transform renderer. Okay. Dot material main texture equal to compute with the lower c. It's not a static function, so I need to use the instance of the class, not the main class. Compute bitmap dot bitmap add mix parenthesis. The first one main texture, and the second one sprite texture, close parenthesis, semicolon. Since this one is a texture and my function will return a texture 2D, so I need to cast it. So as texture, I need to cast it into a texture, okay? Like so. Control S to save my script, so it's saved. So let's try to execute our project. It's working, but there is no renderer attached to the directional line. What directional line? What the? Whoa! I applied. Hold on. Remove. By mistakes, I applied my script plain process to my directional light. Okay. So now I applied it to my plane and to the directional light by mistake. The directional light was a mistake. Okay. So let's press again play. So it's working with no mistakes. But as I said before, we used like an easy example, like when my sprite is in the exact middle, like in here. So, but unfortunately, sometimes my sprite will be like somewhere in here. Like if we look at this graphic, sometimes my sprite is in here, and part of it is like outside the main texture. So what we need to have like condition. Otherwise, we will have like errors if we don't do anything. We'll have like out of bound errors, something like that. Okay. So we need to add some condition, like what happen if the our first point, like this point, is in the negative area. Okay. Since there is no negative index, color index, or any index. There is no negative in like arrays. The index in the arrays are always positive. Like, okay. So what we need to do, like we need to have like condition. We need to add some condition to prevent this to happen. Like, okay. Let's go back to our script. So we need to add to it like some condition. The first condition. Let's start with the y condition. Like, if my sprite is in somewhere in here with the C, our first point has like only y in the negative area, but no. Let's start by doing this. Like if the y of my first point is in the negative area, like this one, what we need to do? Like from where we need to start? Actually, we need to start from the y 0, like from this point. So we need to add our j. This j, instead of having like a 0 value, it need to have like j need to have like as a starting point the opposite of this value. Since this value is negative, it need to have like the positive value of this one. So as I said, J need to have like the if our condition. So if our y, the coordinate y of our first point, like this one, is negative, J need to have like the positive value of this y coordinate. Okay. And why? Because if you look at our equation, like this one. So if we have this one, this value is negative. So J need to have like as a starting point the opposite value of this one to have like a starting point from 0. So if J is having the opposite value of this one, the addition of this one like will be like 0 if we like at our starting point. So it's, and we will start like from this point. There is no need to check every line. Okay. So we need to start directly from this point if y is in the negative area. Okay, the first point y is in the negative area. Okay, so we need to add this condition like before our loop, like in here, like in here. So I'm gonna just change this to like to a comment. Okay, so I need to write like this: var j is equal to if first point y is negative. I'm using the ternary operator. Okay, ternary operator. So if this condition is true, then the value of j will be like the opposite of this value, which is the, if this value is negative, I will be just using the math function absolute value, okay, of that same value. Y. So this one is the exact opposite of this one, since this one is negative. We just said if this condition is true, that means first point y is negative, then we'll just associate the positive value of that first point y to j to have as a starting point 0 in here. Okay. Otherwise, if our first point y is not negative, then j will just take 0 as first value. Okay. So this is like the ternary operator. It will make things simpler to write instead of writing like if blah 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 then else blah blah blah. Okay, so just in one line like so. Okay, so let's try it. Let's try to place our sprite in a sort of like to have like the y of our first point in negative area. We are just checking on the y condition. Okay, and then we'll check on the x condition. Okay, so I'm gonna change this one to 10, for example. Okay, and save my file. Let's go back to our function. I'll just like press execute my project. It's working. So now about our, it's the same. I mean, if you look at, let's say if our sprite is somewhere it's somewhere in here, like it has like y negative and x negative, what will happen? The same for x. So I need to have as a first value the opposite value of the first point x coordinate. You need to have like the positive value of the first point x coordinate. Okay. So I'll be writing almost the same line, but with the I. So instead of having this, I'll just uncheck this one, like so, and do this like var I equal when I is when first point x is negative. then if this condition is true, then we'll give like the positive value of this one to I. So math, the absolute value. First point x. Otherwise, it will have just 0 as a starting point if our sprite is in the positive area. Okay, somewhere in here. If it's in the negative, it will have the opposite value of this one. Sorry. And let's try to check if... so I'll place like... Now, I'll change this to 10, our center sprite. So our sprite will be like somewhere in here. Like this one is our center sprite. It's like 10 by 10. So the first point will have like... Our first point will have like a x and y negative. Let's say if it will work with no mistakes or no. Save our script and press play. It's working. Okay.